All right, after you've got the game going, then you need to keep it going. And it can be a little bit tricky to do that, especially when it comes to evaluating enthusiasm and safety. Throughout the game, people can get bored if they've kind of run the course of the game, or if it's just kind of they've done everything there is to do, or they're kind of used to it. It's not new and exciting anymore. And because of that, they can often because they get a little bored, it can also become a little dangerous. Especially with the younger generations, they can kind of get a little out of control in order to mix it up themselves. If you don't make it interesting, they will, and that can get a little dangerous. So always be measuring the excitement of the activity. If they're starting to act a little bored, or if they're starting to act like it's not so exciting anymore, then you need to change things in order to make it exciting. This goes back to the DDADA. Describe, demonstrate, ask for questions, do it, and then adjust. Changing things up in order to keep it going, keep it exciting. That's what that's referring to. Sometimes you need to be able to take a step back in order to play, in order to monitor safety, in order to be able to really see what's going on. But you can also become a participant at this point. Being one of them might make it easier for you to see what's really going on. Just depends on the game. But when you're a participant, it's easy for you then to lead by example, to behave the way you want them to be behaving, or to add more excitement if needed. Or in order to adjust it or mix it up, you can have someone else take the leadership role. You can have someone else call the shots or MC, or change a rule or whatever. That can be what you do to adjust the game. During the activity, you should be playing a low visibility role. You shouldn't be the one that's keeping the game going. The participants should be keeping it going. You should be either playing or taking a step back. Once you've done your initial describing, demonstrating, and then asking questions, you can let other people answer questions. That's okay to do as long as it's not too much. As long as you've done as long as you've done a good job describing the activity and asking for questions and answering them in the first place. Then if there's extras, it gives people ownership of the game to answer the game themselves. It also might give them the opportunity to kind of step up and play a leadership role. Avoid your ego. It's not about you. It's about the game. It's about the group playing the game together. And you don't always have to be the point person. You can let someone else be that person. Sometimes if you need to have someone else step up and play a leadership role, it can be a little tricky. Some people do better at this than others, and some situations are better. So you have to kind of be able to read when and who it should be done with. If it doesn't go so well, don't just jump in and take over, because it blows the wind out of their sails. You can aid and help, but you shouldn't take over. Let their leadership experience run its course. It is about helping them and feel empowered and learn for themselves what they need to improve on. So practice that, giving other people an opportunity to lead. As the game goes on, like I was saying earlier, keeping it safe is really important. You do this by making sure that the game isn't getting boring and that they're not going to make it interesting themselves. So you have to constantly be interacting and monitoring with the people that are playing in order to keep that going. Keep it safe. If something is starting to head in the wrong direction, be the first one to act, and be able to be serious. My husband teaches 5th grade, and in order to be able to get the kids to really respect him, he starts out the year much more serious and then gets more goofy and fun as the year goes on, because they need to understand that he has a serious side, and then he will step into it if need be. You need to be able to do that. You need to be able to take a step away from fun and be the bad guy if need be, and be serious and tell them when things are unacceptable or when things are headed in the wrong direction. Some attention getters for safety. Now, you use these to kind of help everybody kind of stop what they're doing and restart. You can do this through a freeze and think, have them freeze. Think about how they should be acting. You can kind of redirect them at that moment. You can have a ripple stop, where you kind of have like people in the front stop, or people wearing red stop. It kind of mixes things up and makes it more interesting, but it still gets everyone to stop for a moment. Have them anticipating a timeout. Okay, you got 30 more seconds. Get all your energy out, and then you're done. Modeling. I'm telling them how you'd like things to be done. Lecturing is pretty much never a good idea, because people only listen to the first few words and then they cut you out. They'll in one ear and out the other. It also doesn't encourage them to behave correctly. It just makes them mad at you. Having them promise or pledge to do what's right is a good idea, because people like to live up to what they've promised to do. So give them an opportunity to kind of commit to do what's right. And then a safety cue. Like if I flicker the lights, everyone, we're getting a little out of control. It's time to calm down. is an idea for a cue, but there's lots of different ones you could use. In order to support supporting great playing is referring to something called flow. It's something we talk about in recreation a lot. It's one of the main goals of recreation. And you have to constantly be monitoring things to make sure that there is good flow. Flow is a balance between skill and challenge. In order to do that, you kind of always have to maybe add into the challenge. Once they've gotten used to the game, then you have to maybe make it a little harder, throw in an extra ball or something to mix it up. That's how you can keep the flow going instead of them getting bored. Now, to kind of help explain flow a little bit more, flow, it happens when you kind of lose track of time. The phrase "time flies when you're having fun," that's referring to flow. Where kind of if you're a rock climber, for example, and you're on a wall that really matches your skill level and you're just kind of climbing and it's not going easily, it's not super easy, but it's balanced with your level of skill. You experience this thing called flow where you're not worried about how you look or how you act or how much time is taking. You're just in the moment, enjoying it, loving the moment. You have to keep people from being bored or feeling anxious because it's too hard for them. So you have to constantly keep adjusting the game in order to keep flow going, to keep that balance of skill and challenge going. It's very important to keep that going. So yeah, always be checking for boredom. Don't ask them if they're bored, but you can find other ways to say that. Like, are you ready to move on to the next game? Or do you want to change your rule? And then, if they want to keep playing, they will let you know. And then you know that you haven't gotten to the point where the flow has ended. Bending and shaping and changing. This is, again, referring to the adjusting part of DDADA. Break a rule. I don't know if you've ever played Uno or Ultimate Uno, but Ultimate Uno is so much fun because there's so many added rules, broken rules, in fact, that make the game more interesting for someone who's bored with the plain old game of Uno. Add variations to the game. Be able to kind of, throw in an extra ball or change a rule or just switch things up. Make someone else be the leader or something just to make it more interesting. Have a balance between games so then all the games aren't at the same energy level because then they tend to get more bored with the game that's very similar to the one they just played. Also, see if you can find a way to have some continuity between games so that they're not super different. So they'll kind of have the same goal. Like if you're trying to help them trust each other, then have games that are going to support that. Build up and breakdown is referring to what is called a flow to entertainment. When I was in college, I was in a performing group, and we would plan out our lectures based on this. It's called flow to entertainment. Performance flow is another way to it. Or you could do program flow. It could also be called program flow. Not to be mistaken for big flow, big fun, which is a totally different kind of flow. That's the flow that you experience when you're having a balance of skill and challenge. This is how you plan out a program. You want to make sure that you plan these things in. So, for example, if you're planning this to be games, then you'd have a game that kind of started in the middle of your energy level and then went up to super high and then go down back low. Maybe there's a game between the two. Basically, you don't have all the games up here. That would be too exhausting. And down here would be really boring. So you want to have a nice balance that's constantly mixing up the skill and the challenge balance. And on a high note, so that they're excited to come back. You leave them wanting more. Just like if you go to watch a concert, they end with their dance tune, whatever's going to make you be sad that it's over, and ask for an encore. You want to leave them wanting. That's the flow to entertainment. And as this change goes, you have to manage this. You have to speak, maybe to kind of get the energy level to where it needs to go. You have to be the one to kind of move them from this upper level to a lower level of energy for the next game. So you have to manage this flow to entertainment. These transitions that are in here, maybe you could make these games. You could make this instead of talking to everybody to kind of get the energy down. You could actually do a game that would kind of move the energy level down. Make them into a game. Make this whole experience into a game. All right, that's it for keeping it going. You can move on to ending it well.